So, if you had to be an animal,
Oh, man.
what animal would you be? Criteria.
Yeah.
No domesticated animals allowed.
Okay.
So no dogs, no cats.
Yes.
No guinea
Birds,
pigs.
iguanas, stuff
Now,
like that.
this can be based
What
on
about like reptiles, like snakes and stuff?
animals that you identify with as you feel like your personality would blend well with their everyday life.
I got you.
This could just be, hey, I think that if I couldn't be a human, this would be a cool life.
And I can't choose a dog.
You cannot choose any domesticated animal.
I guess so. You're taking the pamper factor out
even
of it.
anything that like a
Yeah.
Florida man has brought. So reptiles, all that junk, none of that
No gators.
nonsense. Yeah.
Okay.
I've always had an affinity for like larger animals like oxen and elephants and like rhinos, bears. I think mine might be the moose.
The moose. Okay.
Yeah, mine might be the moose.
You're like too big to fuck with from other animals, but at the same time, you're not like seeking the aggression. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think they might be able to be aggressive, as I am aggressively myself looking up what a moose is on Wikipedia right here.
I feel like they could definitely tear something up if they needed to.
Oh yeah, they're huge. So they stand, it says here, they stand about 4'7" to 6'11" at the shoulders. This is a full grown human, but times like 3 or 4 because there's extra body parts. There's a whole back half and gigantic antlers.
Those things look prehistoric. They look like they should be running around with saber-toothed tigers or something. You know.
Good God. So
Yeah.
the antlers of a mature Alaskan adult bull moose have a normal maximum spread greater than 79 inches. My God. That's from left to right.
That's a huge TV.
Yeah, that's a huge TV.
Is it mooses?
Meese?
Multiple moose? Is it meese?
It's I don't know. I always say meese because it's funny, but I'm sure it's just moose. It's like fish
Moose?
or deer. You could
There is an example. I heard that there isn't a way to use fishes correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like
It's
more
like-
of a British thing too, or something.
It's like when you're referring to a bunch of fish in an area, it's fish. But if you're referring to different species of fish within this grouping, then it's fishes.
Okay.
An Alaskan moose also holds the record for the heaviest weight of antlers at 80 or 79 pounds. How crazy!
Yo.
That's huge. Just hanging out on top of your head.
That's like a pound an inch. That was like the same.
Yeah, 79 inches
Yeah.
was the spread, and 79 pounds was the weight.
Whoa.
Me
I was looking up the collective noun for moose.
Oh yeah.
Because that how some of them are pretty funny, like a charming of hummingbirds or a murder of
crows.
Yes, yeah. Moose it's not that cool. It's just a herd of moose.
Boo.
Hopefully, y'all have
We
some
gotta
cool
come up with
ones.
something.
Since I can't be a dog or something that gets pampered, I'm gonna go for something that is indestructible. You ever heard of water bears?
Water bears. I think I have.
Tardigrades.
Yeah.
So they're little itty bitty microscopic bugs that they're pretty sure could even survive the vacuum of space. So
Whoa.
I'd want to be something like badass, and that's gonna be with the tiny microscopic bug.
That's interesting. What a wild pick, dude.
That or like a giraffe.
He's like, or something
That's not
something kind of normal.
Oh,
Something that's not so incredibly specific.
It says tardigrades have a short, plump body with 4 pairs of hollow, unjointed legs.
See, it's not far off from where I'm already at. So
Y'all want to know the stupid criteria that I applied to this for myself?
Go for it.
what is that?
I was just like, something that doesn't have to run. So I chose an aquatic creature.
Seal?
Basically, yeah. I was like, let me be a walrus.
You are the walrus.
I am the walrus.
That is
Cuckoo
a good
cuckoo.
one. I love that one. That is super cool. The collective noun for walrus. Oh man, It's a herd.
No.
Or a pod.
We picked boring
All right,
creatures.
so
did.
anytime we see the words herd or pod, that just tells me that there's an opportunity available for us to give it a unique name.
So giraffe, your
A
second
blubber
pick.
of walrus. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Come
love
on.
that one. Yeah.
yeah, a
You're-
blubber of walrus.
For giraffe, you've got a core of giraffe or a
interesting.
tower of giraffe. Those,
See, tower's good. I like tower.
yeah, both of those are good. What would you do for moose?
I mean, murder's kind of accurate from what I hear from Alaskans. So, it could be a murder of moose.
I mentioned hummingbirds earlier too. They also are a bouquet of hummingbirds or a shimmer of hummingbirds.
That's very pretty.
A daunt of moose because they're so daunting.
yeah. Oh, man.
I like that.
A massive of moose.
A coagulation of walrus.
So they are big boys. Some outsized Pacific males can weigh as much as 4,400 pounds, 2 tons. Most weigh between 1,800 and 3,700 pounds. So right in that 1.5.
Not too far off.
Their tusks, good God, their tusks can reach up to 3 feet 3 inches and weigh 12 pounds.
Oh.
Teeth, 12-pound teeth.
What was that movie where the guy gets convinced that he's a walrus? I think it's
What?
called Tusk. It's a
What?
what's his name?
Did Fleetwood Mac
I know, right?
write that
I just-
song for us?
It's what's his name?
Because it's a crazy song. A good one, though.
What's the guy from Jay and Silent Bob? The Silent Bob. He's the director of the film as well.
Oh.
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
Smith, yes.
Yes, I see the movie poster for it now. It is absolutely what you're thinking. Yeah, independent body horror comedy film.
It's Justin
written and
Long,
directed.
right?
Is it called Tusk?
It is called Tusk.
okay.
Yep, Justin Long. Johnny Depp's in it.
Mm-hmm. And he's
And
wearing
Haley Joel Osment.
Johnny Depp's wearing this giant prosthetic nose through the entire production as well.
Oh my God, that's funny. You still sticking with the tardigrade over there? I couldn't find. I think I did. Hold on.
Are you like a collective of tardigrades? Is that what you're-
Yeah, this just says is a collective of tardigrades is called a phylum, which is a and it mentions which is a taxonomic rank. But this also seems. Oh, here we go on Quora. A group of tardigrades is called a topology. That's kind of cool. He says the water bear is what you said.
Yeah.
The collective noun for bear is a sleuth of bears or a sloth of bears.
Which bears are best?
Somebody told me it was like, if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. And if it's white, good night.
With bears.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Where do we even go?
It's off the rails.
Welcome, everybody, again to the Ranger Zone. We are 3 permanently obsessed Texas Rangers fanatics, only semi-qualified, to dish out our takes like the hot cakes that they are, from the fans to the front office. I am Robbie Belusic.
I am Chris Green.
I am Tony Cook.
We have a wonderful episode for you, like always. You can always bet that the episode will be wonderful and full of Rangers facts and laughs from your 3 favorite goofballs here at the Ranger Zone. Today we're going to get into our bullpen discussion. We've made a lot of bullpen moves. It was something we talked about.
That we definitely needed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. On multiple episodes, it's something that we have mentioned before, and we are getting into all of them now that our free agency spending is probably pretty close to done.
We winding up here.
Yeah, we are winding things down, getting ready for spring training.
You know, it's funny. That was the first thing that we said needed to be addressed, and it seems to be what they wrapped up the offseason with. It's like, all right, let's get a bullpen together. You know?
Yeah, it was certainly everyone's priority going into it, and was able to kind of do it at the end and a little bit in the middle. But
And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying it's very different from what we thought.
mm-hmm.
We don't have a closer.
Wait,
Yeah,
committee.
we'll get there.
We ain't had a closer since Joe Nathan.
Hey, our
That's
World
true.
Series year was also a kind of a closer committee year throughout the year. Leclerc surfaced as the guy, later on down the stretch, and that very well could happen. But before we get into that, how about a little bit of news? In the most unoriginal move ever, Rōki Sasaki signs with the Dodgers. The Rōki chase is over. We were, of course, informed several days ago that by Rōki that we were no longer in the running.
Broke your heart, my guy.
Yeah, all of the reasons that were pointing to us being able to possibly sign this guy were straight off of a Maury show, because the test determined that was a lie. Rōki's agent talked about not having to be on the West Coast and not wanting to be in a big media market and not necessarily needing to have an existing Japanese presence, like Darvish or Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto. That was all incorrect. He did all of those things.
Do we think that the folks representing Sasaki knew that that's what he wanted to do all along and simply talked it up just to garner more attention, to keep the race more interesting? Or do you think that the Dodgers swayed him in the end with something specific?
He's young, so there is obviously a magnetism to who's the hottest right now, and it very well could have been a situation where his agent and family says, hey, at least go look at other teams, give them an actual fair shake. Don't just go off the first thing. And, I can see that being a mistake that many young kids make when given this type of opportunity, and not just in baseball, not actually seeing or the entire field or giving everybody a chance before you make a final decision. And then there you add the U.S. media theatrics on top of that. Who's to say what was genuine and what was played up? And if the Dodgers were in some type of collusion thing, because 2 months ago, or around 2 months ago, there were rumors that he had already decided, and so who knows? No one knows. Rōki Sasaki is the only one that really knows, and maybe his agent, and maybe the owner of the Dodgers.
I think he's a bum. I can't wait to boo this man. I hope he does well for the sport's sake and that he's an entertaining pitcher to watch.
Absolutely.
But he's gonna have to play the heel now.
Yeah, and every time we play him, I hope we just unload on him.
Oh.
I hope we knock him out early every single time.
Like circa early 2010s, Justin Verlander versus the Rangers. Just shell him.
The Rangers had several pressers going on this past weekend during the Fan Fest. One from Chris Young talked about Sasaki and our chase to get him. He says, we put our best foot forward. We made a great presentation. We had what I felt like presented ourselves as an organization and why we felt like we were a great fit. And at that point, it's up to the player to decide if it's a fit. Unfortunately, we didn't get a visit. He did not even come over to visit us, which that kind of sucks. There is a little bit of consolation, I guess, in being the fourth choice. CY went on to say, but I can say that we've had a number of other free agents that are star players and well-accomplished players who want to be Texas Rangers, and I think it speaks to what we've done, and we'll continue to focus on players who want to be here.
People want to be here.
People do want to be here, and that's exciting for us.
I feel like Sasaki's a lot like Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink. She entertained Ducky the whole movie and then ended up with the jock dude at the end anyway.
Moving on in the news here, all of our arbitration players have signed. Where we are at salary-wise and tax salary-wise, figured we'd give a quick update. Again, that tax threshold is $241 million. Right now, we're in for $222 million tax payroll. There are still some things that we will have to pay that will add to that tax payroll, like all of our pre-arbitration contracts, the guys who are doing league minimum. Not everyone makes an even $800,000. There's some discrepancy in there. All of our 40-man minor leaguers, they've got to get their contracts, and all of the player benefits that we play for everybody, so insurance, transportation, stuff like that. Fangraphs estimates that we will be at about $234 million for our tax payroll after all of that stuff is done, so that gives us about a $6 million window to do something with from now until then, and even in the middle of the season.
The wiggle room is running out.
Yeah, it is. $6 million doesn't get you a certified closer, doesn't get you Kirby Yates. That's the question that everyone wants to know.
That last thing that you mentioned is what I would assume ends up being the case, to be honest. We just kind of hold on to that little $6 million buffer and use it
what we need later in the season.
Yeah, to smooth out any trade mid-season, any acquisition that we have in mind.
Yeah. The players who signed our last arbitration were Leody Taveras. It was his second year of arbitration for $4.75 million. Spot Track had him estimated at 5.2, so a little bit of a discount.
Ooh, I know where we can get about $4 million back.
Where's that?
Get rid of Leody Taveras.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah. He made $2.5 million last year in arbitration.
You say that every episode, man.
So almost doubled his salary from last year. Heim also signed his second arbitration year deal for $4.575 million. Spot Track also had him at 5.2.
Okay.
Both guys taking a little bit of a discount.
Rough year for Heim.
He made $3 million last year in his first arbitration year. Some of the other guys and moves that have been made since we have been making roster moves for Jock Peterson and Jake Berger. Sam Huff was claimed by the Giants.
We knew that was coming.
You got to go catch Justin Verlander.
Matt Festa was acquired by the Cubs for cash.
That is okay.
Owen White also acquired for cash, him by the Cincinnati Reds.
Quite the downfall for Mr. White.
And one of the most surprising things, Christopher actually explained it a little bit to me over breakfast, why he's making this amount of money, but Jose Leclerc was signed to the Athletics of California, somewhere in that state, for 1 year, $10 whole million. That is a ton, considering he made around 6.5 his last 2 years with us.
The not yet Vegas A's are slinging the money out there.
Yeah. Lastly, in the news, just I wanted to mention with all of the Dodgers spending stuff that has gone throughout this entire free agency season, something I thought was interesting. And then again, my math could be totally off. Again, I have an art degree and not super great at math.
Math.
I think the Dodgers are going to pay over $250 million in tax penalties this year.
I believe it.
I think so. Last year, I know they paid a bunch. It was like over $100 million in tax penalties.
They're going to pay our whole payroll just in penalties.
Yeah. So I think Fangraphs has their estimated tax payroll for this year at like $370 million. That's $129 million over the tax threshold. This, I believe, is their third time over. It's so you get a 50% penalty on every dollar over. So that $129 million gets a 50% tax on top of it, which is an extra $62 million.
That's a lot of money.
Yes. Also, because they are over the tax threshold by at least $60 million, there is a 60% surcharge, and that is an extra $77 million.
Good God, Guggenheim.
I don't know if the surcharge is every dollar you're over the $60 million.
I think so.
Yeah.
But it's the dollars you spend after.
Yeah. If it's on everything, so it's like 77. It's so much money. They're going to spend almost an entire team's salary on tax penalty money for this season, and probably close to next season. They're going to have a bunch. I don't know when that's going to even out for them, but
if you're one of these teams looking to spend a little extra money to get a reliever or something, that $2 million deal is turning into a $6 million deal real fast at this point.
Yeah.
And Lord forbid you somebody do a $100 million deal.
Christopher,
yes.
You want to touch a little bit on why Jose Leclerc is getting a $10 million contract?
Is it just time served, basically?
No. He wishes it was time served.
Yeah. It's the A's screwing around with the system.
We are going to take it over to Christopher's classroom, where you will learn the things about baseball.
So John Fisher, lovely owner of the A's, is running the risk of going up against the grievance filed by the Major League Baseball Players Association for manipulating revenue sharing, where the high dollar big market teams pay some of their revenue back down towards the small market teams who theoretically struggle to make payroll and compete. Now, the A's have been not spending in their last few years there in Oakland, and the amount of years they've been receiving the revenue sharing, they're coming up against a potential penalty where the grievance could be filed and they would have to pay back, potentially even more money. And so what they're doing now is trying to raise their payroll to a certain degree to get above that penalty marker. So that equates to guys like Jose Leclerc, who have rough seasons, getting somehow $10 million.
So he got hush money.
More or less. Yeah, he got keep us
Not
out
for
of
anything he did, but
He got keep us out of trouble money for a little bit because we're going to end up unloading Luis Severino and Brent Rooker later.
Well, and that's why they signed Severino himself to. It's like why are the A's signing Luis Severino to a 3-year, $60 million deal? It's like it's just weird.
And then I think they spent another $60 million on Brent Rooker too, and then now this
Although that
$10
one's a
million.
steal.
Yeah, that one was a steal. If they keep him, they should be keeping him that entire time. Or I'd love to trade for Brent Rooker.
He's so good.
He is really good.
That's a professional bat.
Yeah, that's someone who I'm excited to watch his career. Let's get right on down into it, gentlemen. Our bullpen discussion. We've got so many dudes to talk about. First, just a quick hit on who's all here, where they're going to be. So some of the guys who are here that are new and some of our guys from last season where they're going to kind of shake out in the order of operations as it goes throughout the late innings of our games coming up. New arm, Hobie Milner, and so far top tier baseball name for the team so far?
It's good.
You think so? Is that our best baseball name?
Better than all the Jacobs.
There's so many Jacobs
I
and
was,
Joshes.
I was unfamiliar with Mr. Milner. Looked him up. He's a side armor.
Mm-hmm.
Dude looks like a Hobie.
Yeah?
Don't know how to explain it other than that. Looks like a Hobie.
I think we mentioned him a little bit in the news segment from the last episode or 2 episodes ago, but he was, he's a free agent. It was a 1-year, $2.5 million deal.
I think he's going to be sneaky good for us.
I think so too. Other guys, free agent guys that we've grabbed who are going to be in his similar role, kind of that high leverage role, is Sean Armstrong, also a 1-year, $1.25 million deal. Jacob Webb, 1-year, $1.25 million deal. And then the other guy in our high leverage spot will be Josh Spores whenever he comes back.
I remember him.
We spoke just briefly just a second ago about all-time good baseball names. Can we just literally Armstrong? Great baseball name. Like, come on.
Armstrong, yeah.
Especially for a late-inning reliever.
It just works.
There's
Webb
another
is
one.
pretty good too. I mean, Web of Glove.
Spider-Man names.
Just snuck on the board there with Family Feud with that one.
In this next group, I've got kind of what I think maybe our mop-up guys will be, or just kind of our plug-in guys when we need some innings.
Guys, you're not necessarily thrilled to get up in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Usually something has gone wrong, or incredibly right.
Yeah. So we've got Jacob Latz, Gerson Gabrito, or Gerson Gabrito.
Gerson Garabito. I think we're missing letters in his name.
Oh, yeah, we sure are. Gerson Garabito. Thank you. And then the last one, who I think has a pretty good baseball name, Walter Pennington.
Somebody in this man's family went to Yale.
Walter Pennington sounds like a banker.
Yeah.
Of the Pennington
Old
fortune.
money. Old money.
2 guys we're going to get from the minor leagues, and we'll see more as spring training progresses if these guys don't end up. But
Mark Church almost made the bullpen out of it last year. Yeah.
So one of them is Mark Church, and the other one is Daniel Robert. I think we'll see both of those guys up this year.
Robert the father, not the son.
Yes.
2 first names. You got to love it.
And then our long men will be Dane Dunning for sure. I think he's really solidified himself into that role. And Jack Leiter might play some long man stuff. He will probably start. He's for sure going to start. We're not
going to get a chance.
Yeah, and multiple chances because he was getting batted all around the ballpark wherever he was last season and still got like 5-6 starts, I think.
And was getting better.
Yeah.
Getting better towards the end.
Yeah, incremental.
Yes. Did not do near as good as Mr. Kumar for sure.
And then our closers here. Sorry, I think I said our last one was longmen, but I put the closers down at the bottom because they are the last guys we'll typically see in the ball game. This is going to be Mr. Chris Martin. He was a former Ranger back here. He's signed a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. And Robert Garcia, who came over in the Nathaniel Lowe trade. He is in his second pre-arbitration year.
Chris Martin, Arlington resident, or
Yep.
at least grew up in Arlington.
Born in Arlington.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Grew up here, went to high school here. We got gonna get into all kinds of good Chris Martin stuff.
Also sang on The Scientist.
It was all yellow.
It was all
Get out of
yellow.
here. CY has talked about our closing role this year in the past. He says, we did a similar thing in 2023 where we played kind of matchups more. This year will definitely be similar, and it could change. One of these guys could carve out more of a role for themselves, or we could be making some kind of move in the middle of the season for a closer. But right now it's going to be Chris Martin and Robert Garcia with maybe a little of Sean Armstrong thrown in there too.
Hope not.
Or hope he at least is earning his way in there.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for us when we're, based off of what Chris Young is saying and Ross Fenstermaker too. He says that a closer is no longer a primary target, still open to adding a closer. So I don't know if it's going to get done. Remember, we said earlier we've probably only have about $6 million, so I don't know how we're getting one with that. If that is the dollar amount, we'll have to trade someone. Is there someone you guys are going to unload to get Kirby Yates? He's going to make, let's say he makes $14 million.
I think Tavares is a good candidate.
But we need at least 8. We need at least $8 million.
Get you $4 million to get you up to 10. Because we have 6 available. Leote's making 4 point something. Get rid of that. Bye.
Yeah.
Not worried about it.
We could also use that little bit of money at the end to, if it's not going to be a pitcher. Tony, you mentioned in the last episode, you mentioned in a couple episodes ago, Travis Jankowski, who I believe is still out there, made just shy of $2 million last year. So it's going to make about the same.
I'd love to see El Blondie back.
And he's a guy who's gone through waivers at the end of last year and nobody claimed him. Mm-hmm. We want him. We should just get it.
Great clubhouse guy.
Make it happen.
And if you are going to move Leote later on in the season for someone that he's another outfielder guy, or rather he's another outfielder that will
somebody that can play center field.
Mm-hmm.
Get White off his feet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even Carter from time to time. And Adolis. We saw Jankowski sub for Adolis
in the World
Series, and he did, he was gangbusters.
Yeah, 2-hit multi-RBI game in Game 4.
I will briefly, before we start breaking down all of these guys, just briefly go over some of our relief pitching stats for last year, just where we kind of sat among the other American League teams. So our wins in relief, we were near the top. We had 38 wins in relief. That is top 4 for the American League. Losses in relief, we were at the bottom 5, which is great, only 24. Let's see, our blown saves, nowhere near our World Series year.
Respect to Kirby.
Yeah, we were at the bottom 3 of blown saves, which is great, with only 19, a 67% save rate. What I thought was crazy, we inherited the most runners, and those runners scored the most as well. Huh. But our inherited score percentage, I guess, the relation to those two was not the most. We were only in the top 4 for that one.
So even though we took on a big bag for our relievers coming in, they handled it better than is expected in that situation.
Yes.
Okay.
We were also the number 2 team in the average amount of outs recorded per game in relief. So our relievers, you could count on them for 3.8 outs every time that they came out in a game. But we want to know about the 2025 Rangers. We'll get into Hobie Milner. He was the latest one that we talked about a couple episodes ago. So
I got a scouting report on this guy.
Yeah, give
it
to us.
A little paragraph I wrote up about him. My dude is a side-arming lefty. He is predominantly a sweeper-sinker pitcher, with the 2 pitches making up 65% of his usage in 2024 with the Brewers. His sinker and four-seamer averaged only 88 miles per hour last year, so he isn't necessarily going to blow you away, but he will try to deceive you into the swing and the miss.
Yeah.
Most crucially, he is one of the 3 lefties currently projected to be on the opening day roster. He's also been a workhorse the past 3 seasons, averaging around 65 appearances. So,
dang, yeah.
A lot of encouraging things from Hobie Milner.
Yeah, he's kind of a beanpole, 6'3", 187.
Yep.
He's 34 years old.
Looks like a Hobie.
Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that get drafted twice.
Passed the first time.
Yeah, passed the first time. Drafted in 2009 by the Washington Nationals in the 44th round. Passed that up, and then was drafted again in 2012 by the Philadelphia Phillies in the 7th round. Debuted with the Phillies in 2017.
Averaging 65 appearances. Is there anyone else on our bullpen that's even close to that?
Not with Kirby
All the guys
Yates
that
and
I
Dan
looked at,
Robinson
no one
Robinson
was
being
above
gone.
40.
Yeah, so this is encouraging. So that he should be able to eat some innings. You know, who's oh my gosh, Darren O'Day. Do you guys remember him? You know, he's
always
definitely
in there.
he's not quite a submarine as Darren O'Day is, but he definitely has got that Siren Armin thing going on.
Okay, if he can be as available as old Darren O'Day was, he was useful, man. And then he went to Baltimore after that and was even more useful for them.
Really uses that four-seamer high and inside to right-handers, high and outside to left-handers, predominantly where that fastball lives, which...
He doesn't walk a lot of guys either.
No, that is nice. Man, his pitch mix is pretty evenly spent. Like you said, that sweeper-sinker takes up the main two, both of those in the same location. He throws those low and away to righties, low and inside to lefties, and the sinker is in the exact same location because those pitches, I imagine, are looking very similar out of his hands, whereas the sweeper is kind of a curveball and the sinker is more of a fastball. So being able to freeze people coming off of that off-speed pitch and then throwing that sinker, he's going to freeze them because they're looking off speed, and then vice versa. If he's coming off of a fastball and he's going to throw that sweeper, that's when you get people lunging out way in front of the ball because they think it's coming in hot, and he's breaking them down at the knees.
You're either swinging or missing, or you're way on top of it, smashing it straight into the ground.
That's
cool. Watching
that's a really cool pitch mix for just those number two, and then being able to have the fastball and change up, which those two set each other up really well.
His pitches have good movement. Watching a couple highlight reels from last night, so
awesome.
It's he's crafty. He's very crafty.
To your point, Tony, in the outcome of these batter swings, he's ground ball percentage is way up there at 91%. So these guys are just getting on top of everything.
Love to see that.
Yeah, that is cool.
Position players love to see that too. Keep them involved. Mm-hmm. It gets boring out there.
This is certainly a really tricky guy because his walk percentage is way up there too. It's in the 92%. So he's not walking a lot of guys. He's being
Putting
very
the ball in
crafty
play.
and fooling dudes. Getting them to
I like that. A guy
swing
that
at garbage.
Trust the defense behind him.
The chase percentage and the whiff percentage are really low here, so those balls are definitely being put in play. And with the barrel percentage being in the 99th percentile, it's a lot of weak contact.
I bet that's frustrating for a hitter. A guy only bringing 88, and you just can't seem to get much on it when you make contact.
I love
Can't
that.
get under it.
Yeah, I love that, having that type of guy, a guy who's going to just frustrate batters because he's got some electric stuff.
We got another acquisition.
Who's that?
His name is Jacob. Can I take you higher, Webb?
That's right, because he was with Baltimore, correct, when he gave up the Mitch Garver Grand Slam in the ALDS.
Yeah, you can't beat him, join him, so.
Right.
All right, Mr. Jacob Webb is a classic three-pitch pitcher. He features a four-seam that he uses about 45% of the time, with the remaining 55% split evenly amongst his two off-speed pitches that are a sweeper and a changeup. His fastball averages about 93 miles per hour, with the changeup coming in around 85 miles per hour, and the sweeper is about 82. He has slightly above average swing and miss stuff, being in the 65th percentile on whiff percentage, but he really seems to excel in getting weak contact. Mm-hmm. He is in the 82nd percentile on hard hit percentage and 84th percentile on average exit velocity. His expected batting average was only .212, which was very solid as well. He is definitely a fly ball pitcher with very few balls hit on the ground last year. Potential weaknesses are a below average fastball, and he is going to walk some guys with that sweeper.
He has such a simple pitch mix, which most relievers do. It's the guys who can't formulate 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 pitches, so they've got to go to the stuff that they can do, that four seam and the sweeper and the change. It's the things you need. You have one fastball, you have one off-speed pitch, and you've got one breaking ball. So each one can do wild things to the other. That sweeper, just like Hobie Milner, he throws that thing almost, exclusively down and away to righties, down and in to lefties.
For a guy that's it looks like a fly ball pitcher,
Yeah, definitely.
He's got to be hitting. The weak contact is a must.
Yes.
Just give me the flares. Don't,
So this
I
definitely
don't want long distance here.
strikes me as the kind of guy where if he's having a day where he doesn't have his best stuff, that some of the balls could be going over the fence. So.
Or he could just be staying away from you and walking some guys.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, yes. Yeah, leaning a little harder on the sweeper.
Mm-hmm.
So the change I'm noticing here, so his sweeper and changeup sitting kind of around the same velocity, 82.8 for the sweeper, 84.3 for the change. So those are two pitches that he's using as well to set each other up. Going to look kind of similar out of the hand, but one of them has a lot more action than the other one. And then, of course, the fastball to round it out. He can throw that thing kind of anywhere, but he likes to throw it, looks like high and away to righties and high and inside to lefties. Webb is a righty, like most of our guys. He's 6'2", 210, 31 years old, will be 32 in August. Drafted by Atlanta in 2014 in the 18th round, and then debuted with Atlanta 5 years later in 2019. He's got a lot of walks. He walks a lot of guys, but that's natural because he strikes out a lot of guys. 2020 season.
Sounds like he's trying to paint them corners.
Yeah. Even though it was the 2020 season and COVID and only 60 games, he had no runs given up in the 10 innings that he pitched. I thought that was kind of cool.
Nice.
He's always had a positive ERA plus 2 and WAR, except for the 2021 year when he did have a negative WAR. And I don't think it was by
Not by a lot.
much. That WAR in 2021 was negative 0.1. So
Yeah, he's league average.
yeah, league average.
Or replacement level, at least.
Yeah. He kind of hit the ground running his rookie season, gave up kind of too many runs in 2021. That's 2 years after he debuted. After that COVID year in 2021, he kind of came unglued a little bit. He gave up kind of a lot of runs, had a 4.19 ERA that year.
Made some adjustments to him.
Yeah, they really did. He spent all of 2022 in the minors. He was optioned and DFA'd by Atlanta at that time, and then claimed by Arizona, then traded back to Atlanta for cash 11 days later.
Oh, man.
Then DFA'd and signed a minor league deal with the Angels in 2022 during the offseason. And then he started to kind of come back to form in 2023 and 2024, the ERA getting under control. So down to 3.69 in 2023 and 3.02 last season.
Okay. I'm expecting a lot from this guy this year. Not to be a late inning, save the day, quite literally kind of guy, but
Yeah.
just
Certainly high leverage.
Yeah.
He's going to get high leverage stuff. Probably your
he could-
6th inning, 7th inning.
he could fill that classic Andrew Miller role a little bit, where if it's the 5th inning and the starter's having a rough time and there's runners at second and third and only one out, bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
You think so? To me, he just got everything that's not essential seems like it's got Jacob Webb written all over it to me.
I think we'll need to lean on him a little bit though.
Think so?
Just with who we have available.
That's true.
Because he's not going to be I don't see him being the closer or the setup guy. He can do the 7th inning role, maybe.
He might work himself
Especially
into
while
that.
Spores is.
Yeah. I mentioned that he walks a lot of guys, just to put that into perspective a little bit. In 2023, he walked 30 over 53 and 2/3 innings. And then in last season, he walked 27 over 56 and 2/3 innings. So
I will say, looking at Webb here, just looking at the pitch placement for his fastballs, they are way too high up. I do not like to see a room temperature fastball that's going to be...
this, I'm assuming, is working inside to lefties,
Well-
and maybe it's not getting all the way inside, as opposed to trying to get on the outside of the box for right-handed hitters.
That's a damn home run for a righty.
Yeah. Well, and lefties. I mean,
You can jack one, yeah.
Yeah, because they're gonna pull it. Whereas,
Just
you'll
slingshot that ball.
And room temperature is a little disrespectful. He is pumping 93 in there, so he can get away with it every now and
If
then.
that's his average, he's probably throwing a 95 out there every now and then too. Right?
Yeah.
What's great is that, like, even though 93, like, it sounds fast to us, and most of the closers, if they're not an artist type of guy who doesn't have 90s plus velocity. They're probably even throwing a little faster, 96, 7, and 8, but it's a 10 mile an hour difference between his breaking ball and off-speed pitch from that fastball. So like around 93 miles an hour for the fastball and about 83 miles an hour for the change and sweeper. So that is nice. Because that's where you could get those pitches where if you do want to throw that changeup a little bit higher or that sweeper a little bit more in the middle of the zone and you're freezing guys there or you're getting them to swing and then you kind of burn that fastball middle in, middle up, hittable, but you just came off of an off-speed or breaking pitch. So you can get away with that type of pitch. You can get away with getting the fastball in that location of the zone, the Ranger zone.
Sean Armstrong. We signed him because he was cheap.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
I said what I said.
We are most definitely hoping for some sort of a renaissance to 2023 Sean Armstrong, and definitely not 2024 Sean Armstrong looking at these peripherals. Mm-hmm. He is 34, and he came crashing down back to earth after a spectacular 2023 that saw him boast a 1.38 ERA.
Sick.
Last year, he pitched to the collective tune of a 4.15 ERA.
With a collective of 3 different teams,
yes,
too.
He was playing for the Rays, the Cardinals, and the Cubs. So, yeah, if you've got a ERA north of 4 as a reliever and you've played for 3 different teams, something was going wrong. He features 5 pitches, a 4-seamer, a cutter, a sinker, a slider, and a sweeper. He's got the S's covered. When his cutter and his sinker are working, he can really generate some chase from batters. When they aren't working, however, he gets traded twice in one season.
Rude.
As rough of a time as I'm giving him, there is an upside there. I see him working the low leverage situations to start the year with the potential for him to work his way into a 7th inning or even a setup role, assuming things go well.
They're going to need to go really well.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
I see some versatility with him, though.
Yeah.
Are you, Tony, do you have his baseball savant pulled up?
I do.
Do you see how you can click the year and go back to 2023 in the middle box or whatever where it's got all the percentiles?
Yeah, you just click the year. Good God, look at all that red.
Yes, that's what we're hoping for.
Whoa.
Yes.
What was
so
going on?
This is what we're trying to get back to, I think.
What happened with his chase percentage?
This is the gamble. Because, this dude was elite with, people were not, they were swinging and missing on everything with this dude.
I assure you, there's
what
even
the
more
hell,
red. I was
bro?
like,
oh, my goodness.
And that was a full year with Tampa Bay.
that's
What
one of
was
the most
going on?
valuable fastballs in the game in 2023. 91st percentile for fastball run value.
Jeez.
Chase percentage was in the 96th percentile. People just couldn't find it.
And even when they found it, his barrel percentage is in the 95th percentile. So
They weren't
even when they
hitting it
hit
very
it, they
hard.
didn't hit it hard.
Some of the fewest walks he's ever seen in, that more reliable role in over 50 innings pitched, only 11 walks.
And all that screams late inning kind of guy. But, even last year with the 3 different stints with the 3 different organizations, a role that's basically the opposite of that. He seemed like he was just kind of a guy for all 3 of those teams last year. He still got 66 innings in.
Yeah, he pitched 57 games. Yeah.
He
So
still got in all of these games. It was
Yeah.
whether he was effective or not, he was out there, and that's important in a reliever.
That's true.
Availability is the best ability.
I think that might be more of a testament to these teams were hoping they were trying to catch that 2023 lightning in a bottle, and that's why he got, it was a revolving door with where he was waking up to play ball the next day.
See what old Mike Maddox can do with him, huh, right?
Yeah, we'll see. He is 6'2", 225. You mentioned 34. He'll be 35 in September.
Okay.
Another player drafted twice, so drafted by Houston in 2008 in the 33rd round. Declined, went on to college, I believe.
How many rounds are there?
This was back when they were
Yeah.
a bajillion rounds.
They've cut a bunch since then.
they have.
I think, wasn't Ian Kinsler like a 45th or 47th round
Something
pick?
like
It was,
that.
It was
Yeah.
wild.
Later on drafted by Cleveland in the 18th round in 2011, and then debuted with Cleveland in 2015. What I saw was the same thing you guys saw.
Yeah.
All or nothing. It's he's got Ks are pretty much the most consistent thing about his game, and that hovers around 9 strikeouts through 9 innings.
I'll take it.
Yep.
High ceiling, low floor.
Christopher, who do you got for us next?
Up next is Robert Nate Lowe Garcia.
One of our closers, as it stands so far.
I am expecting great things for him, or from him. I am expecting great things from him. Nobody wants to trade one of your franchise's, faces, essentially, which Nate Lowe was. There's a lot of vitriol spewed online in regards to this trade, and I get it.
A virtual spew of vitriol.
Yeah, virtual, yes. So, I mean, it was understandable. There's a lot of frustration over losing Nate Lowe, and a lot of people, who's Robert Garcia? I've never heard of this guy. He plays for the Nationals. There's a team in the nation's capital. What? They won the World Series a few years ago? That's crazy. I don't even remember that. So, I get it. He had a 4.22 ERA last year, and we traded Nate Lowe for him. What's wrong with us? This guy has elite breakout potential.
A lot of red on this chart as well.
My God.
Yeah.
He's just waiting, dude. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He features a four-seam fastball, a changeup, and a slider. He's using that fastball a little more than half the time, and he is averaging that fastball around 94.5 miles per hour, so he's got the heat. The changeup averages about 88 miles per hour, and he's using that about 30% of the time, with the slider coming in at about 86 miles per hour and being used the remaining 15% of the time. He is a ground ball pitcher who generates elite-level swing and miss, and if you do make contact, it is weak, like 98th percentile on both hard hit and barrel percentage. Like, you don't get better than this guy when it comes to those kinds of things.
Is that just stuff, basically?
It's got to be the action on his pitches as well. I bet these.
I don't know if you can't see it coming out of his hand, or like you see something and it just goes somewhere else entirely. He's also a strikeout machine, you would think. He doesn't walk many. Keep an eye on this kid to be a late inning option who may eventually find himself closing out games or, all the games, because it's going to be this kid right now as it stands.
One of the
He has
reasons
to lose.
Yeah, one of the reasons I think his chase rate is also so high, part of that being the action on his pitches. I imagine they're moving like crazy, but he has like some of the most quintessential closer stuff: fastball, changeup, slider, which I love, like in video games.
Yes, when
I'm playing as the closer, because I love to like make pitchers, or I love to make profiles who are just closers, and that's it. Like, and the slider is like one of my favorite pitches, and it is set up by so many other pitches. The fastball and changeup set each other up, and then the fastball and the slider, they set each other up. The changeup also sets up your slider, and the location of these pitches, he's putting them exactly where they need to be.
I'm glad that we've gotten a chance to talk about this guy now since the trade went down. I went and watched a short clip of some of his highlights after we made our move with Nathaniel Lowe, and Robert Garcia looks the part.
Yeah.
He passes the eye test.
Mm.
He has the build and the presence of a closer on the mound.
He looked like Dellin Betances, if y'all remember him.
Yes.
He looked like Dellin Betances.
Oh my gosh, yes. I don't know if is he that big? Because that was a big dude.
Dellin Betances is probably about 6'6".
Yeah, that dude
So
was
I don't know if he's
big.
that big. But he's 6'4". He's a big boy. 240.
Okay.
One interesting thing I noticed when you were talking about where the velocity is for each of these pitches, his changeup sits about 87.7, so you can call it 88.
That's a fast changeup.
It's a fast changeup, where the league average sits at about 84, and you think 3.5 miles an hour is not that much of a difference. It is when it's coming off a fastball, because the batter might be able to recognize
difference between fair and foul.
For instance, his fastball is at 95 miles an hour. If his changeup was at 85 miles an hour, that's fine. That's usually a 10 mile an hour difference is usually fine. But now it's only like a 7 mile an hour difference, which really does make all that bit of difference in the swing timing and even the recognition of that pitch from the batter coming off of the pitcher's arm. Just that 3.5 mile an hour difference from the fastball to the changeup is, it's going to look so much like a fastball, and it's going to look even closer to a fastball than some other pitchers' changeups might, because it's that much closer to the same velocity. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's another reason why his barrel percentage and his hard hit percentage are probably so high.
That'll mess you up in the mental chess game.
Yes, because that changeup is closer to his fastball, whereas most guys, their changeup is a little bit, slower. Yeah.
Ooh,
So
you really don't know what you're getting.
I looked up Dellin Betances a second ago just to make sure. That ginormous human being is 6'8", 260.
My word.
So maybe a little bit shorter than that guy. Maybe a little smaller than him.
They could play football.
He's young too, guys. He's 28. He'll be 29 in June. Drafted by Kansas City in the 15th round in 2019.
And we got 4 years of control left, including this year?
Yeah, because he's the second year arbitration. So it'll be this year and then one more year of arb. So
I thought he was 1 year pre-arb.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Yes, this year and next year are both pre-arbitration years.
My God.
Then he has 3 years of arbitration.
We've got
So
5 years?
5 controllable years of this guy.
See, this deal's looking good, man.
This deal is looking
good.
Yeah. I think you had mentioned earlier that he's just been unlucky. Was it him that has the crazy FIP rate?
Yeah, and then what was his FIP compared to his actual ERA? Because his FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, is figured out to essentially be ERA if you were to take your defenders out of it, and a more true representation of what the pitcher himself contributed to the earned runs.
Yeah, so his FIP rate in 2024 was 2.35. That's elite. That's elite stuff.
So all of you folks out there who are up in arms about trading for a reliever with a 4.22 ERA, what if I told you traded for a closer who has 5 years of team control left, who had an ERA that was 2.3? All of a sudden, it's looking a lot better.
Yeah. He doesn't give up the long ball that much either. 0.6 and 0.8 home runs through 9 over the last 2 years.
That's awesome.
Over the 91.2 innings pitched, the last 2 years, he's only given up 7 home runs.
Oh, that's real good for a team like us.
Yeah.
Wow. We need that.
His walks per 9 have been a little high, but they're starting to trend in the right direction.
Okay.
3.4 walks per 9 in 2023. 2.4 in 2024. I expect that to keep going down, the strikeout to walk ratio is going to keep on getting bigger. I did find a video of Rangers Nation interviewing him. He was talked about, how he was most excited about coming to the team with the most will to win. He said it's very apparent in the front office that the goal is to win another World Series. All right, Christopher, we got one more new fella. Correct?
You wrote the blurb on him, though.
Oh, I did write the blurb on him a little bit. It's more bullet points, but...
All right, Robbie, we got Chris Martin. You want to tell us?
Yeah. Not new to some people, not new to us. This is
a familiar face coming home.
Yeah, a familiar face coming home.
He's about to be 39.
Quite literally
he ain't
home.
new to anybody.
Gosh, is he already? Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's 38, going to be 39 in June. This is Mr. Chris Martin.
Did he pitch overseas and then came back?
He did.
Okay.
Yes, he did. So Mr. Chris Martin is an Arlington native, born here, went to Arlington High School, and even went to the University of Texas at Arlington at one point.
Colts and Mavericks, baby.
Yep, Colts and Mavs. Mav up. He is 6'8", big dude.
I wonder if he was there at the same time as who was that player?
Hunter Pence.
No, the other guy, we got from Oakland. He was a first-round pick out of UTA.
Oh.
Choice.
Michael Choice. Yes. Oh, wow.
I wonder if they were on the same team.
I see you.
You like that?
Dang.
That's because I drive by that sign
it says
outside
his
the
name on there?
ballpark all the time on Fielder and Park Road, or just outside UTA's ballpark where they have the big list of MLB players that came out of the system.
It's like, that was
see
a
it all
deep
the time.
pool, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's 6'8". Wow.
Yeah.
224.
That's Chris Young size.
Yeah.
You're coming off the mound and your foot's in grass, so plant foot's in grass.
Yeah. He has had a...
One more and the foot's in ass.
Turbulent... my God. He has had a turbulent trajectory for his career.
He's been everywhere, man.
Yeah, drafted by Detroit in 2004 out of Arlington High School. Didn't go. He was one of those guys that got drafted twice. He ended up going to community college, I think, for a year, and then drafted by Colorado, 21st round in 2005. He got an injury at that point, took 3 years off.
Wow.
Played a little bit for the Fort Worth Cats, played a little bit for the
R.I.P. Fort Worth Cats.
Yeah, played a little bit for the Grand Prairie Air Hogs when Pete Incaviglia was managing.
Man, R.I.P. Grand Prairie Air Hogs. Both those teams are gone now. Dang.
Around 2010, he started making a comeback to the majors. Debuted for Colorado eventually in 2014. His first 2 years were kind of rough. I think he was with Colorado and then he was with New York.
Didn't see too many games, it looks like.
Yeah, only 15 innings pitched the first year, 20 innings pitched the second year, and just kind of got rocked everywhere. 6.89 in 2014, 5.66 in 2015. At that point, Chris Martin took his talents to Japan and played for the the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Slam fighters. That's where he said he learned to slow the game down and got a lot of high leverage experience on a team that wanted to win and on a team with a good atmosphere. That was an interview he did with MLB Network. When he came back to the States, he came to Texas. He was a little rough around the edges. That was in 2018. Started to get that under control in 2019, and we recognized that and
Traded him.
a day before the trade deadline, and it was to the Braves, to Atlanta.
I believe Chris Martin got himself a ring with the Braves.
Yes, he did.
He was a part of that bullpen that year.
2021 with Jock Peterson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was that other guy that Atlanta got from us? The pitcher.
Bullpen?
He ended up being a bullpen guy for them. I think we wanted him to be a starter. Luke Jackson is who I'm thinking of.
Oh, yes. Good pull.
Dang. So in his time here in Texas, he pitched 41 and 2/3 innings the first year and then 38 innings before we traded him. So the first year he was here, his ERA was 4.54, and then that went to a 3.40 the second year. His ERA plus the first year was 105 and 169 the second year. His strikeouts and walks was 8 strikeouts through 9 the first year, 10.2 the second year. Those walks were really under control the entire time here. 1.1 the first year and 0.8 the second year.
His strikeout to walk ratio in 2019 with us, he had 43 strikeouts to only 4 walks. That's some Jacob deGrom nasty right there.
His overall, because remember he spent half the year in Atlanta, the second half of the year in Atlanta, his overall strike to walk ratio that year was 13.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Check this out. So as good as the one I just said was, he had 1 year where his strikeout to walk ratio, he had 50 strikeouts to only 3 walks. And that year was last year.
Insane. 16.67 strikeouts to walks.
This man does not like to walk people.
Love that. That's great.
Garcia as well. So I'm liking this tandem. It's looking
that sounds like
very
8-9
interesting
right now.
Yeah.
He's been putting up solid numbers and really finally kind of coming into his own consistency wise. I'd like to see him kind of where his 2022 and 2024 ERAs were in that 3.05 to 3.45 range, really staying below 3.5 and flirting with 3 and even sub 3. I think he might, maybe, who knows? Though his FIP the last 3 seasons.
He was elite in 2023 with Boston.
Yeah.
3.2 WAR. My gosh.
Yeah, dude. That FIP the last 3 seasons, some of the best ever.
Yeah.
2.18, 2.44, 2.78. Incredible FIPs.
Like to see that.
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned, this guy strikes out a ton and does not walk hardly anybody. The walk rates those last 2 years, under 1. Oh, he's got good postseason numbers, too, if I recall. Yeah, good ERAs. Not a ton of innings, just 14.1 innings. 2.25 ERA in the postseason. 2 walks in those collective 14 innings.
In the postseason?
Uh-huh.
That's not bad.
Not at all.
All right, existing pitchers getting reacquainted with familiar faces.
Lingering around and down by the docks. It's cold on them docks.
So, Harrison Garavito, the 6-foot, 160-pound right-hander, 29-year-old that we signed as a free agent out of the Dominican Republic, made his debut for us last season. In 26 innings pitched, he had a 4.78 ERA, struck out 22 with a 1.33 whip.
He showed moments of brilliance.
Yeah. I think I was at one of the games live where he started.
I think I was at that one with you.
I think you were.
Yeah.
So what I noticed looking at some of his stats on his pitching is this guy consistently features his four-seam and his curveball with usage rates at 39 and 34% respectively. He also has a changeup, sinker, and slider, but depends on those pitches for only 12, 10, and 5% of his throws. From what I saw, he's basically a robot with his curveball location, that being low and outside to right-handed hitters.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
He seemingly does that every time he throws that curveball. Every time he drops a hammer, it's that same spot.
That's a nice.
You know where it's coming.
It's a dirty pitch for left-handers too. That curveball coming inside because you think it's coming from the outside of the plate, and you think it's gonna just drop right in your sweet spot, and then it sharply drops right into your ankles.
My thinking on a way that he can expand his role and his effectiveness in that role is partly in utilizing that curveball more effectively in different ways. That go-to pitch is not going anywhere. And the ability to use that curveball in other ways can only accentuate how good a go-to pitch that is when you need the strikeout. If you can throw it other places and they can't sit on that location and that speed, it'll make it a more effective pitch.
What's interesting, I think he might be, using that curveball to even set up some of the other off-speed and even fastball pitches he has since it's going down and away to righties. That changeup is kind of coming in really kind of low and middle into righties. So I'm thinking that changeup and curveball probably coming off because they're around similar velocities. They're coming, from the same side and looking kind of different, and they're expecting that curveball to come all the way across and drop where the changeup ends up looking like a fastball halfway through, and then now it's jamming you on the inside if you're a righty. And that sinker is kind of doing the same thing. It can come inside, it looks like, as well. So that curveball really a versatile pitch for him.
As far as his fastball, what I've
Four-seamers
noticed,
all over the place.
His four-seam,
I think he's probably using that four-seamer
Set the other things
to
up.
set everything else
Yep.
up. And the curveball is kind of, can help set other things up, but the fastball, he's moving that thing all over the place, it looks like. But putting it in good spots.
Yeah, a lot of it in the strike zone.
I see, to me, too much in the strike zone.
The
I don't see much around these corners apart from that low and outside to the right-handed hitter,
Thinking meatballs.
I see a lot of very hittable fastballs.
Yeah.
He does. One of those hot spots is that down and away for righties, which is same as that curveball. So both of those pitches helping set each other up too.
Even the slider helping out there.
Oh, yeah.
When he chooses to mix that one in, it looks like. Only 5% of the time.
Yeah.
So if he could paint a few more corners with that fastball early in counts, I think his outcomes could improve dramatically. One interesting thing that I did notice, I believe it was on Baseball Savant looking at Garabito's stats. The similar pictures to Garabito, 3 of the 5 that it mentioned were Rangers relievers. So I believe we have a type.
Yeah. How funny.
Yeah, look at that.
The next one I've got here is this guy has got the least amount of time spent in our organization. This is Walter Pennington.
Who did we trade to get him?
I'll let you know that in just a second. I'm way ahead of you there, brother.
All right.
Walter Pennington, the 6'2", 205-pound lefty, is a 26-year-old who signed with Kansas City in 2021 out of Colorado's School of Mines.
Yes, they love mentioning that on the broadcast,
Well,
the radio
children,
broadcast.
they love the mines.
Yes, he's like the second ever major leaguer out of the Colorado School of Mines, and the other one was from like 1887.
I've got the black lung pop.
My man.
We traded Michael Lorenzen
Oh,
for
yeah.
Walter Pennington.
Kansas
Vans
City.
himself.
That's correct. And he made his debut for us this past season. Walter Pennington, in 18 innings, had an ERA of 3 flat with a whip of 1.67. Work to be done there. A slider sinker baller who also has a cutter that works well against lefties.
Okay.
In limited appearances last year, he struck out 17 batters in those 18 innings, while also keeping the ball on the ground when it is put in play at a 48% clip, which is borderline elite.
Okay.
A lot of movement, but not much velocity as he's topping out around 89-90. We need support from the lefties currently in our pen, and I believe this is a guy who could step up and have a big role this season.
Is it the ground balls? Is that what we're seeing here? Like, what's the big attraction for us to Walter Pennington? I know he's a lefty, so he gets a little bit of a pass on the velo, but
That's really what I see here is lefties, man.
yeah.
We're giving a lot of pass to anyone who can bring the ball to the plate and with the left arm,
Ugh.
I think if he could, maybe even learn a little bit from Chris Martin while he's here, get those walks under control, you could start to see, some elite level strikeout to walk ratio there because the strikeouts are there. He's shown, 17 strikeouts, 18 innings.
He's assuredly not going to be in any kind of leverage situations at first.
No, and he wasn't really last year. I think we tried to test him out a little bit of that and found out quickly.
After we were already out of it.
Yeah, he got a little bit of work to do.
He could end up being one of those guys that doesn't see a lot of innings pitched, and his numbers will look great, but they may be somewhat inflated due to us picking and choosing where we use him very specifically.
Yeah.
Everything is just down in the zone. It's looking like where all of his pitches are ending up, where he likes to throw them, they're all down in the zone. So certainly ground ball guy. Fastball can get up in the zone. It looks like, I'm sure that's,
intentional.
Yeah, intentional. And he doesn't really throw the four seamer. He relies more on the sinker fastball.
Oh my gosh, only 2% of the time.
Yeah, the sinker cutter are his two fastballs that he likes to do.
All right, the next guy here, returning to the Rangers bullpen, is Mr. Jacob Latz, returning champ. The 6'2", 185-pound left-hander. He's 28 years old, was drafted by these Texas Rangers in the 5th round of the 2017 draft out of Kent State. Looks like he had a cup of coffee with us in 2021 as well as 2023 with 4 2/3 and 6 1/3 innings pitched respectively. But, not much to look at there. It's just,
Yeah.
an inning here or there, just kind of filling in the stat sheet. 2024 was the first year that he really established himself as a member here.
Mm-hmm.
In 46 games, he had a win-loss record of 2-3 with a 3.71 ERA, 43 2/3 innings pitched, 40 strikeouts with a 1.51 WHIP. You guys remember the end of...
1.51 WHIP is good.
I'll take that.
That's real good.
I'll take it.
A lot of promise.
Do you guys remember the end of Major League where Rick Vaughn is trying to get the last strikeout?
Mm-hmm.
And the catcher, who is that? Is that Tom Berenger?
Yes.
Is that Berenger?
Yeah.
Berenger's character is talking to the guy at the plate, and he's like, we need the strikeout. What should we throw?
Yes.
I wonder what it'll be, And the manager's at the end of the dugout, and he's like, give him the heater, Ricky.
Yes, I love that.
That's Latz, baby. That's Latz. We're
Yeah.
talking about a guy who's throwing that heater. Give him the heater, Ricky. Latz has got some juice with the fastball, especially for a lefty. Averages 95 on his number one and uses it about 50% of the time.
That's good.
He also throws a slider changeup to round out his combo, and strangely enough, his slider is actually slower than his changeup, running 83.5 compared to 85.9 when he pulls the string. Every now and then, he'll toss a curveball to keep batters guessing, but it isn't a valued pitch in his arsenal at 5% throw rate.
Mm-hmm.
Loves to run his fastball up and in on the right-handed bat, but he can miss his mark towards the center of the plate, and luckily can get away with it due to his high velocity. But that's a dangerous game that only works when he can live low and outside, throwing the off-speed for strikes and chases. Another valued lefty that can be used in a variety of situations of importance if he can get ahead in counts by locating that heater high and tight.
He's also a guy that is good for east-west type of pitching setups because that slider he likes to throw inside to righties and, of course, outside to lefties. So normally the slider is a pitch that you're going to throw to a batter to chase, so same armed batters to pitchers. That changeup, however, on the opposite side, he's going to be throwing that outside to righties, inside to lefties. Those two pitches kind of work really well together because the slider coming off the arm and the changeup coming off the arm again will look similar. The slider will start to kind of slide across, whereas the changeup will stay on that on the opposite end of the strike zone.
I heard some people making an argument that we should stop referring to a changeup as a changeup and start referring to it as a slow ball again.
Really?
Because there are some pitchers that even feature their changeup more than they feature their fastball. And they're like, well, what are you changing up at that point?
Yeah. A slow fastball is what I've got.
Yeah, this is my slow fastball.
If I were building a prototype for a pitch selection, this would be it. 50% four-seam, 23% slider, 22, maybe 23% changeup, and then every now and then 5% curveball. Just give me a little something for that fourth pitch every now and then.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind another fastball pitch, like a sinker, and he's not really using the curve. The curveball is just kind of a palate cleanser pitch. For me, I'd love to have another fastball pitch in there.
But he's going to be effective, and he's going to be out there. He's going to give you 50 innings.
Mm-hmm.
I can see him doing that easily this year, giving us 50 innings.
It absolutely, yeah. The three dudes who we kept from last year all have the potential to have breakout seasons for us, which is great because we're going to have some injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The team is shaping up. It's shaped up almost all the way. I think 99% full is what we feel like.
I'm sorry. Looking at Garcia's stats, I am sold.
Yeah.
I'm
It's-
sold.
not
Give that
worried
guy,
about-
He's
give that guy
exciting.
the 8th inning to start out with, and let him earn the closer role.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
We get a Sporzy back halfway through the season.
FanFest was last weekend, guys. I got the chance to go. It was a large time. I did
You
have a
lucky dog.
yeah, I did have a good time. So I got there 8:45, waited in line for probably about 30, 40 minutes with everybody else out in the freezing freaking cold. Got inside about 9:30 around there. Immediately got in line for an autograph because I was there last year and remembered how the autographs went. I'll kind of explain a little bit how that goes because it's time consuming. If you're by yourself, and you didn't buy a fast pass, which I think was like $750.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there are 6 stations where autographs are held, and they rotate 3 and 3. So let's say A, C, and E are all going at one time. B, D, and F are all going at one time. How they have it, it's staggered like that with, I think, like 1 hour differences between. So one set of 3 will go, and then an hour later, another set of 3 will go, and then an hour later, it'll go back to the original set of 3. The player who you are in line for does not get announced until 30 minutes before the signing. But you need to be in line for that person that you don't know who it is at least an hour before.
Oh, wow.
So I got in line at 9:30 for Corey Seager. That was at 11:30 because it's the first signing of the day or in that group. So I knew I had to get there early. It was the first thing I wanted to get out of the way. Waited for an hour and a half. Found out it was Corey Seager. Was like, cool.
Heck
Gonna
yeah.
rock and roll in this line, and that's how it goes.
Interesting.
So I'm in
You
line.
gotta commit.
Yeah, I'm in line for A, C, and E. Those are the tables that the portion that I'm in. If I don't like that by the time they announce, I can't go over to B, D, and F because those are already sold out. I got to go over and wait for another A, C, E. Yeah.
I'm sorry. If they're going to do it like that, it needs to not be lines. It needs to be like a bingo board. And you need to be able to go not only north and south, but east and west and change lines if you have to.
After that, I was going to get in line for another autograph I thought about, but there was a lot of stuff to do. I was by myself. I did not necessarily want to wait in a line for another 2 hours.
That's
and
fair.
again, potentially an hour and a half, and then find out it's not who I want, and then I've got to go somewhere else.
It's Estuary Ruiz.
Right. So I went and checked out the card show that was going on. So some local vendors of card shops and stuff came out and had some neat things. I didn't get anything from there. I intended to rip some packs, but nothing was tickling my fancy while I was out there. But nonetheless, still cool to see.
Was there any food?
Absolutely there was. We had some concessions open. It wasn't crazy, just normal dogs, nachos, sodas, beers. I did get a beer the first second I walked in there. 9 a.m. beer.
All
Nothing
right.
better. It was a Bud Heavy. It was
Oh.
delicious.
This line ain't so bad anymore.
After the card show, I was continuing around to the center field entrance, the one where the Pudge statue is outside. They had that's the Texas Foundation booth is over there. That's who does all of the theme nights and things like that. So they had sale items from the 2024 season, like different hats and shirts and stuff. And I got one of these cool posters over here. Here, I'll grab it so you guys can see it. Yeah, there it is right there.
That's cool.
I was getting hungry at that time, but I did not stop for food. Just quite yet. I continued around all the way past that center field entrance into where the Grand Slam gift shop is over there. And they had kind of a discount rack for jerseys, I'd noticed. Heavy rack, lots of jerseys. So I checked them out. They had a bunch of blank ones, and they had some with players and numbers on the back. They were all authentic jerseys. Most of them were kind of older.
Back when it was good stuff.
Yeah, still manufactured by Majestic. I'm wearing mine, the one that I got, my first ever authentic Rangers jersey. I got the
that
gray.
150 patch is dope.
Yeah, I get, so it's a gray road jersey. It's from the 2019 season, which was the MLB's 150th season, which I believe I've got that patch right over on the right arm. That patch is underneath the final season patch of the Temple. That was consequently our last season in the Temple. This thing is awesome. I love it, and it costs $50 whole.
That is a steal.
Yes.
Yeah.
The highlight of my FanFest experience was getting to meet Chuck Morgan.
That's awesome.
I did not know it was going to be a thing, that he was going to be there. And I mean, I figured he would, but I didn't know he was, going to be posting up in his office and talking to small groups of people. I was going to leave. I was going to go get lunch, or actually in the ballpark, and I was walking around and I happened to pass his office, and I saw there was like this short line of about 15 to 20 people outside the office and 6, 7, 8 people inside, and he was chatting them up, and like, all right, well, I'll just kind of stand in this line and see, because I always go by his office when I go to games and just check it out, because he's got so much cool stuff in there. And I waited probably only about 30, 45 minutes as they let small groups in. I went in with a group of, it was 2 dads and 3 young boys, probably about 10, 11, no older than 11, I would say.
Okay.
And they were from far, I believe. Wichita Falls, I think he said. I was chatting one of the dads up because I mentioned that I had a podcast, so we might have gotten a listener out of this. If you're listening, sir, yeah, thank you. Also got the chance to ask him a ton of questions, so that was cool. It was really just a very casual meet and greet. Like I said, there were 6 of us in his office with him.
That is intimate.
Yeah, and we were in there for probably about 15 minutes. It was a chat. He was telling us stories. We would ask questions, and he signed some stuff at the end. But I wanted to get to the questions that I asked him and some of his responses. They were really, really cool. So I had said, you have such an iconic voice, and your timbre and delivery, it's something, that every Rangers fan can get behind. Do you have any players or managers, staff throughout the years who have done impersonations of you to you, and have they been any good?
Oh.
And he said John Miller, the San Francisco Giants play-by-play guy since '97, does the best impersonation of him.
That would be great.
Yeah, and then he said that there were a few hosts on the ticket back in the day that would do impressions of him from time to time that he enjoyed. I also asked about his microphone. I was just curious, what he paid for it, what kind of model and stuff. But the most interesting part was that it's a fairly new one that he's using now, because his old one that he used for like 30 years is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. After he called his 3,000th game back in September 26th of 2020, the microphone made its way to the Baseball Hall of Fame. His wife, Leanne, is the senior VP of financing for the Rangers, and she's the person you got to go to when you need to buy stuff. So when he needed to go buy another microphone, because this one was going to the hall, joked that he had to ask his wife, Leanne, for this money to buy the mic, and she joked back, it's 2020, there's nobody here, we don't have money for this, but they found the money. Is $1,500 for the new microphone that he's using.
We got phone money at home.
I asked him about the concessions. I said, we've been doing wacky things with food for a while. Do you, when you're not eating in the press box before games, do you ever get the chance to venture out and try some of the foods during the games, or are you more of a traditionalist when it comes to food? And he is the latter, a traditionalist, a man after my own heart, actually, because he says, and I quote, "I'm a hot dog man."
Boom.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
And then he said,
Yes.
yes. And then the second, and he follows it up with my second favorite ballpark treat, which is peanuts. He says I probably eat 2 bags of peanuts a game.
It's
So salty.
Yeah.
I love peanuts at the game. It's the best combo.
There, one of the little kids in there asked him who his favorite player ever was to call, name and number when he was coming up, and he's without missing a beat in his Chuck Morgan. Now batting number 19. Juan Gonzalez. Yeah. Oh, it was so good. It chills, like the chills we would get when we were in choir listening to beautiful songs. It was just moving. Next year, for sure. I don't think I'll line up for a player's autograph first. I'm going to bring my microphone, and I'm making a beeline to Chuck Morgan's office so I can meet him again and ask him more questions and get more impersonations. I loved it.
Oh, that sounds like a lot.
I loved it. It was really cool. And then I put this picture of Jake Berger in here because I thought that
looks
Tony...
like a middle school principal.
Yeah, well, Tony, I'm going to need you to grow a mustache. and be
Yeah,
Jake
well, you
Burger
know
for
what?
Halloween.
Can't do it.
Hold on.
Well, we could just get you a fake mustache because I think this is the perfect Halloween costume for you. It's the only reason I put his picture in here from FanFest.
Me on Ozempic.
Oh my god. He really does kind of look like you, though. Holy shit.
I closed out my FanFest experience with lunch at Whataburger, but not the one in the ballpark. I decided to leave because I was told that the Monterey Melt is back. My favorite Whataburger burger. We had just talked about all the burgers a couple episodes ago, so I had to go. And lo and behold, my order number and tent table number was number 21.
Jake Burger.
The newest number for Jake Burger. I thought that was just kidding.
That's nice.
How cool was that?
By the way, shout out the Chop House Cheddar Burger. That is clearly the best Whataburger. I don't care what anybody says. I love a good cheese pull.
Patty melt.
Patty melt. Thank you again, dear listeners, for playing along on another episode of The Ranger Zone. It always means a great deal that you take the time to spend the time with us, 3 goldfish in a plastic bag you won at the carnival that have no chance of making it back home alive. Next week, we are going to get into the TV deal that the Rangers just announced a couple of weeks ago. As always, you can keep up with us, trying to keep up with social media. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube at Ranger Zone Pod. That is at Ranger Zone Pod. We're worth a follow for the nonsense alone. And, of course, you can always listen to us just about anywhere you get your podcasts. This has been The Ranger Zone, and I am Robbie Belusic.
I am Chris Green.
I am Tony Cook.
And that is the way the baseball go.